Hello and welcome, Eureka Middle School 7th graders. Mr. DeShazer here. I'm just going to explain how to do your Tuesday take-home for this week. I felt like it was pretty important to have this screencast-o-matic recording. Otherwise, I thought guys might get a little confused. So let's get started here. The way we're going to do Tuesday take-home this week is we're going to go to Google Classroom. And what I want you to find is not your Needs of Seeds lab report, but your Plant Graphs Tuesday take-home assignment. What we'll do is we'll open that up, and you'll see that there's directions here. Always read these directions. They're very important. They'll help you out a lot. But it says, open the attached plant graph template and enter your plant data into the two data tables. Once that is finished, insert your graphs into your Needs of Seeds lab report. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through how to do this. So we open up this plant graph template, and you'll see we have two tables set up. It's working here slowly. So we have two tables here. We have one table is talking about the growth of each of our plants over a 10-day period, a lot like your table on page 11, right? And then if we scroll over here, we have another table. This is just the total plant height at the end of 10 days. So you guys won't actually be able to get this information until Wednesday, but once you get this information, you can put that data in order to build your bar graph. But first, let's talk about how to build your line graph over here. So this table is set up exactly like your data table on page 11. So what you're going to do is you're just going to slowly put in data here as you go through. Whatever your data table shows for you, however much your plant grew. Obviously it probably didn't recede growth, but you'll just fill this table out continuously. So I'm going to skip ahead real quick, and I'll just show you what a completed graph will look like. Alrighty, so I jumped ahead a little bit here, and I just filled in this table completely as if I was reading right off my data table on page 11 after 10 days. Now, notice here I don't have any fractions or labels, so you don't see anything that says 8.5. If I was to have 7.5 here, it would be 7.5. Okay, if I was going to have 7 and 1/4, it would be 7.25. Okay, but if you try to put in a fraction, it's not going to read that number. So keep that in mind, and don't have any labels on this as well. So no centimeters or cm written by the numbers when you're putting your data into the data table here, or else the graph won't read it. Okay, so we see I have my table here, or my graph here, and you can tell by looking at it that experimental 2-2 and experimental 1-2 grew the most, it looks like, at about 16 centimeters. And if we look at our table, that is correct. So we can kind of see the trend of all of our plants' growth over those 10 days. Now, obviously, your guys' graphs may look different because you have different plants, but this is just a mock example of what your graph might look like. So now, what we're going to do is we're going to look at all these total values that we have for the total plant heights, and we're going to slide over here to our bar graph. So our bar graph here is just a representation of the total plant growth of all of our plants. So let's look at control 1. Control 1 grew 10 centimeters total. So we'll put in 10 here, and here it just pops right up. Control 2 is 8 centimeters. Put in 8. Experimental 1-1 is 14. Experimental 1-2, 16. 2-1, 11. And experimental 2-2 is 16. So now if we slide over here, this is just representing the total growth of all of our plants. So it shows us which plants grew the least and which plants grew the most at the end of the 10 days. Whereas this kind of shows us our trend for what was growing fast on which days, which plants kind of topped out and stopped growing, all that kind of data. Okay, so now what we're going to do, the next part of the assignment, we're going to insert these graphs into our lab report. So in order to do that, we need to go back to Google Classroom, and we need to go back to classwork here, and Needs of Seeds Lab Report is what we'll choose. We're going to choose our Needs of Seeds Lab Report template, the Google Doc. Okay, think of that blue tab is the thing you're editing, right? Now, you guys should have all of this pretty much filled in, all of your pre-lab, right? Some of you have started filling in the data table as well. But what we're going to do next is we're going to scroll down to here where it says graph. Okay, and you can highlight all this stuff here and just backspace there, and you'll get to where your icon is sitting right there on the left below graph, and we go up to insert. Okay, insert chart, and then we scroll down to from sheets. Then it'll pull up a bunch of spreadsheets, but I'm going to find my plant graph template that has my name on it. I'll select, and then I have these two examples. So I'll click on the graph. We don't really need to link it to spreadsheet, so we can unclick that and we click import, and there you go, there it is. Then I can just press enter and click insert again, chart from sheets, click the same Excel sheet, and now I'll click the other graph, import. Awesome. Now remember with our table, I told a few of you that we need a table description. Well, for our graphs, we need to make sure we have a graph description. So we will title this Figure 1, and we could probably make that bold. And we can just explain what the graph is showing. So the graph above displays the growth of pea plants over a 10-day period. And then I would imagine you guys should probably go on and explain which plants are treated which way, all that kind of stuff. So you're explaining what is being displayed on the graph, okay? And then here, like I said, what I was talking about earlier, you'll probably call this figure 2, by the way. And, oops. There we go. Sorry, technical difficulties. So with figure 2, I was saying with this bar graph that it is showing the total height of all the plants. So the graph above displays the total plant growth of the pea plants after 10 days of observation, maybe. Okay, so, and then probably make this stuff not bold. There we go. But after you do all that stuff, so putting the data into the spreadsheet, and then coming over here and inserting the graphs and labeling the graphs, that will officially mark that your Tuesday take-home is finished. Now, I know that obviously includes watching this 9-minute video, so I apologize for that, but take the time to watch it, otherwise you're going to be very confused. After you get done watching the video, putting all this data in and inserting that data into your lab report, that's where you can go to your Plant Graphs Tuesday take-home and click Turned In. Okay, so please let me know if you have any questions. This assignment is due Thursday, and I hope that you guys have a good evening or morning. I'm not sure when you're listening to this, but anyways, cheers. I'll talk to you later.